Alright, so today we're going to talk about fractions, decimals, and percents. So what I want you to do is open up to R10 in your notes, actually R8 in your notes, and follow along with the presentation as we go. A lot of this is going to be review, so I'm going to work kind of quickly, but if you need to pause or rewind, if you missed something, please go ahead and do that. Alright, so we're talking fractions, decimals, percents, FDP. Alright, so what if you're given a fraction? How do you turn it into a percent? Well, let's say we're given the fraction 3/20ths. The first thing you need to do is turn it into a decimal. So to do that, you have to divide the numerator by the denominator. So I go and put the denominator on the outside and the numerator on the inside of my division house. And then I go ahead and just do the long division. So 20 can't go into 3, so I put a 0 there. And I got to add my decimal point, right? And a lot of you are going, oh yeah, decimals. So you put 0.0, you got to add the 0, but the decimal point's got to go up there as well. Alright? So now 20 goes into 30 one time, and then you want to subtract 30 minus 20, and you get 10. And then you keep going until you run out of numbers to divide. So you add another 0, you bring that down. 20 goes into 100. I heard somebody say it. Good. 5 times. Alright, with a 0 remainder. Which means our answer is 0.15 or 15 hundredths. You could also just rename the fraction with a different denominator. So in this case, since we have 3/20ths and we want it to be over 100, we say, well, 20 times 5 would equal 100, and 3 times 5 would equal 15. So an equivalent fraction to 3/20ths would be 15 hundredths, and then turn that into a decimal. Alright? I forgot to say, anything I write in blue or a different color, you need to add to your notes. Okay, so if there's any questions about that, keep them to yourself, because I can't hear you on the camera. Now, to go from a decimal to a percent. All you have to do is move the decimal 2 spaces to the right. 2 spaces. So you take your pencil, you rewrite your decimal, and you move the decimal point. And we usually do the little loop-de-loop. And we put the decimal here. Okay? And then, of course, you have to add your percent sign. So this one ends up being 15%. Or, if you had your fraction of 15 over 100, you know that anything out of 100 is a percent. So you could just say that that was 15%. Alright? Moving on, what if you're given a decimal that changes slightly? Okay? Let's pretend you're given the decimal 0.24, which is really 24 hundredths. Okay? You would first turn it into a fraction by reading the decimal and writing what you say. So 0.24 is 24 hundredths. This is the tenths. This is the hundredths place. So we write 24 over 100. Am I done? Who said it? I think I heard it out there. Reduce the fraction. So you need to find the greatest common factor between these two numbers, which I believe is 2. Actually, it's more than 2. It's 4. Let's try 4. We would get 6 over 100 divided by 4 is 25. So we would get 6/25ths. Okay, and that's fully reduced. So once we have our fraction, now we want to say, all right, so what percent is that? There's 2 ways to do it. One, you could move the decimal 2 spaces to the right, so 1, 2, and make it 24%. Or if we went and turned this into 6/25ths, we know that 6/25ths is equal to how many hundredths? We're going to multiply by 4 and get our over 100, so it's actually 24 over 100, which we already knew, which ends up being 24%. Easy enough. Okay? Moving on, this is the last example. What if you're given the percent and you need to turn it into a decimal and then into a fraction? Well, there's lots of ways to look at it. Let's say we're given 32%. All we have to do is insert a decimal and then move that decimal 2 spaces to the left. So we want to insert the decimal where it should be, okay, after the 2 there, and then move the decimal 2 spaces to the left. And of course, we can't just write 0.32, so we put a 0 in front of that decimal point. So 0.32. And of course, we get rid of the percent sign. So now that we have our decimal, we want to turn that into a fraction. It's pretty easy. All you got to do is write the percent number. In this case, it's 32. Whoops, erase that. In this case, it's 32 over 100 as the denominator. So the percent becomes your numerator, 100 is the denominator. Are we done? No, you always have to reduce. So in this case, we can divide by 4, and we get down to, if we do 32 divided by 4, we get 8, and 100 divided by 4, we get 25. All right? Down at the bottom of your notes, it says, in your own words, explain how to convert the fraction 7/9 into a decimal. So go ahead and do that on your own and bring it into class, and we'll go over it together. If you have any questions, go back and rewatch the video again, or send me a message on Edmodo and I'll try to answer. All right, talk to you next time.